defender a la justicia social. Y eso es lo que están haciendo.
Some of them fear that their protests will lead to more deaths.
If they lose, more will die.
If they win, it won't be enough.
For some. Most won't ask too much.
Well, they've already asked too much.
Security for their families is not too much.
Risking retribution is.
Retribution for standing up, speaking out. All they ask for is justice.
Ah, but justice requires sacrifice.
Accepting risk is a sacrifice.
A sacrifice motivated by avarice.
Avarice? These people live in virtual poverty.
Well, virtual is not actual. They have what they need. The best sacrifice is to stay safe, preserve what they have, and not risk losing their family.
No. They have an obligation to make life better for their families.
Well, if they lose?
They lose it all.
Even you see that.
I agree with the prospect.
Yeah, but not enough to forsake rebellion.
No. Rebellion is a treasure. It's what gives good people a fighting chance. Good people are weak by nature. They don't seek power over others. Power is a foreign concept to them. They become satisfied with smiles on their children's faces, their neighbors' faces. They arm themselves for gift giving, never demanding just desserts for themselves. But a day will come when they realize that shackles have been girded on their wrists and ankles, and they have to face their weakness. It glares at them as if they're reflections of their own faces in those same shackles. And they have no choice but to band together as if held to one another by the overlord's chains. That is the way to freedom and justice.
You should be embarrassed by your bitterness.
You should be embarrassed by your apathy.
Apathy. I've always promoted peace. You could have helped me.
You promote peace by promoting inaction. You cultivate the attitude of the happy slave, satisfied to kneel, resigned to his lowly position in life. The exploited workers, the abused child, the battered woman, all ordered to swallow the opiate of solace, while all the while you sit back and gloat upon an ordered kingdom.
Every king who loves his people, every president, every prime minister, every chancellor, every prince, all desire order.
They all desire quiescence.
Because a multitude at rest rests easier.
Because a lamb is easier to slaughter than a lion.
You expect perfection in your life. You expect the rose to smell sweet but not prick. You expect silver spoons and silver platters, meat with every meal, sweet water, clean air and health. All desirable things to be sure, but so is sloth until it comes time to feed the hungry beast. And will your legs be strong enough? Will your complacency let you run? The sloth is easier to slaughter than the lamb. And the slave lives a harder life than the master, so too better for him to weather the storm. The back that hauls the burden is the stronger for it. I may have a nation of burdens to bear, but I also have a nation of the strong. You think I don't love the poor, downtrodden, disenfranchised? They're my people. And in the end, the strong shall prevail.
As with the camel's back. I watched this from the ivory of your court, and I enjoyed the gilt weavings of my princely robes. But the guilt became too heavy a burden for me. I had to throw them off and descend the mires.
And in the mires you shall remain.
Perhaps. Just as Subcomandante Marcos has abandoned plush academia for the thatched huts of Oaxaca's jungle, it's a higher calling. The revolutionary never looks down and never looks back. They look always up and ahead.
Even if it's up to the open skies of exile?
I often long for your kingdom, but my soldiers and I loved it so much that the risk of exile was worth the sacrifice to make it better.
What about the exile from a loving home?
Exile, at times, is a cold desert. And even the warmth of comrades at my side cannot replace a missing father.
One night, as I stood in the parapet, rains fell as the gloom of night was cast, and I braced my shoulders against the cold gust. Together, a father and son, side by side, weathered this.
I did not choose to leave.
But you chose your fate. And she wove the cloak you hoped would keep you warm in your cold desert.
Side by side we had stood, braced against a cold gust. Side by side we peered over the parapet of your royal court into the gloom on the suffering masses treading through the mires. We stood together. We saw the same tears, we heard the same cries, and you only sprinkled opiates while I opened a door to let in the light.
And what it got you was blame for creating the light you revealed.
A true irony.
The only ribbons on your cloak are the blood from those you sought to help, and the spittle from those who blamed you.
The bloody ribbons on my cloak are no match for your own. Your gilt robes no longer glitter for the blood that stains the stitching. And that blood, all the blood that ever spilled, that ever flowed, blood spilled by your own hand, all of it, is the blood of your own children.
All that blood, all the injustices you lead them against, the tyranny, the poverty, the oppression, all of it came from the seeds within that first fruit, the fruit of your disobedience.
So, I stare into the dragon's lair and find myself staring back.
Yes. In your subtle way.